Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. My name is Alicia, and in this video I'm going to show you how I made this split fabric tutorial tumbler. Yes, not tutorial, well, I'm doing a tutorial. This is a split fabric tumbler. The fabric's up here, the glitter's here, we got washi tape here. So if you're interested to see how I did this, stick around and I'm going to go ahead and get started. Guys, let's get started with this cup. I'm so excited to start this cup. I don't know why, but I absolutely love this fabric. I don't know what it is, if it's the colors. I think it's the colors because, you know, I do love fall colors, but I don't know, it's leaves and the butterflies. Anyway, so I'm going to tell you how I came about this fabric because I cannot link this in the description below. So what I did was I measured it out and doing a split, so, you know, I didn't need a really big piece. And if you guys have seen my other fabric tutorial, so what you do is you, I lost my train of thought. So I glue my fabric to my cup using Mod Podge. I do a section at a time. You can, you know, some people go all the way around. I just worry about the glue drying prematurely. Because Mod Podge can dry quickly, so I just do one section at a time. So I am going to wrap this in this direction, and I'm gonna leave a little overhang at the top, and I'll trim that later. So I'm just gonna press that down. Now if some of the glue comes through this, it's totally okay. The more the better, actually, because you're gonna be coating the outside of this with Mod Podge anyway to seal it, so not a big deal. And tell me guys how you like this new angle, because I'm trying it out for the first time. I promised you guys that I would try to film differently because I felt like you weren't seeing everything I was doing, and I see a lot of people film like this, and so I got myself a new tripod and I'm trying this out, and I'm looking as I'm doing this, making sure you guys are in frame. So if you or out of frame for any reason, please, I apologize. But this fabric was a little wrinkled up, so I did iron it. I've seen people they don't iron theirs. I do. I don't know, there's something about the wrinkles when I'm putting on a cup. I don't want to have to stretch it and try to like get the wrinkles out, so I just, you know, gave it a quick iron. It only took, you know, a minute, not even, to iron it. So how I came across this fabric. Well, I was taking my daily walk in the neighborhood, and the house on the street around the block from mine was doing a yard sale, and I really didn't pay it any mind. I was like, no, don't stop, don't stop. So a week goes by, and I go for my walk again, and now the sign says estate sale. And I don't know, there was something inside me that said, just go stop there, just go stop there. And I'm like, all right, maybe I'll just stop and look for grass. You know, see if she's got any glassware or something, you know, really cheap. So here, the woman, she's an older lady, and she was the sweetest thing ever. She like told me she's 80 years old, and she shattered her shoulder, and she can't take care of the house anymore. And she's a widow. Her husband is a Marine, or was a Marine veteran, and she starts talking about how she does crafts, and she did a lot of sewing. She belongs to like quilting clubs and stuff, and so she had all these bags of scrap fabric, and I was like, you know, let me just go through. And she just had some really interesting pieces, and this caught my eye. I just absolutely loved it. And so I purchased some fabric from her. She was actually, she said she was selling the house, which I find, it's so sad. But, you know, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. And she has like two sons. One's, I think, in the area, and the other one is not in the area. So she doesn't have a whole lot of help. So she, you know, was just pretty much liquidating everything. And she had also what are those rolling organizers the plastic organizers, which I so desperately need because I got so much crap that I need to organize. So I bought that from her, and I bought, you know, a couple like other little things, but the fabric, you know, I just was, you know, my favorite thing. And she looked like she was doing really well, but, you know, we talked for like a half an hour, and I thought, you know, she's so super sweet. And she laughed because I pulled up, I said to her, I said, well, I can't, you know, I can't carry this organizer around the block, so I'm gonna have to come with my car. I said, but don't laugh because I have a Mustang and it's not exactly a mom mobile, but watch, I am gonna get this in there. She's like, no way. I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm gonna get this cart in my car. I was like, I actually got a lawnmower in the trunk of my 94 when I had that. I said, promise you. So I come rolling up in my bright red loud Mustang, and I can hear her howling, laughing all the way across the yard. And she's like, I love it. She's like, that's so awesome. So, yeah, so I got in the car and I brought it home. And so, you know, I decided that I had enough fabric that I'm going to make 2 tumblers. Right now, I'm just going to do the one. But I'm going to make 2 tumblers, and I'm actually going to leave one on the doorstep for her, which is kind of like, you know, a good luck in your new endeavors or whatever, something like that. Just something for her to take with her, you know, that, you know, a piece of fabric from her life. And I don't know what she made from this. I know one of the other fabrics, she said that she had made a hat and a like travel bag out of. So I got a little piece of that, and I'm going to put that on a cup too at some point. But that's the story behind this fabric. So sorry, folks, I cannot link this for you. I have no idea where she got it. I'm fortunate to have my hands on it. I think it's absolutely beautiful. You tell me what you think. All right, so I am going to let this dry, and I explained this before in my last tutorial where I did a fabric wrap tumbler, that I like to let the bottom layer dry first before I go in with my 3 coats of Mod Podge over the top. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let this dry for about an hour. I'm going to check it, and then probably start my next coat. So it'll be the first coat, and you know, get around to trimming this as well, because, you know, this is the excess and I want to have a nice seam. So I'll be back in about an hour to show you putting my first coat on. All right, just real quick, it's not been an hour, but I wanted to show you that extra fabric at the top. I am going to trim it. So I'm using my scissors, and I'm going to just use the rim of the cup as a guide to trim around. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to take my brush that still has Mod Podge on it, and I'm going to just put more on there so that it gets a good seal. Alright guys, it's been an hour. This cup is nice and dry, or this layer is nice and dry, so I'm going to go over and put my first layer. I'm only going to show you the first layer, and then the other 2 I'm not going to show you because you don't need to see it more than once. But, oh, you know, I forgot to mention, so the reason why my cup was like all different colors was because originally I had spray painted this cup to show a member in our group how I spray painted for a beach tumbler. And then I wound up not doing anything with it because I'd already made one and I didn't have orders for another one, so I just didn't get around to doing it. So that's why it was different colors. And so I just spray painted the bottom and the orange color, because I'm going to be using, you know, an orange type glitter. And I just left the top dark, you know, the way it was, because this is a dark fabric and it's not see-through, so I didn't have to worry about spray painting the top. So that's why the cup looked the way it did, if you were wondering. All right, so I just came right up to the seam here, and then I'm just gonna go around my cup, and I'm gonna give it a nice generous coat. I'm gonna go over the edge down here and over the edge at the top, and you can go different ways. You know, go up and down and side to side to make sure you're getting, you know, you're getting it in the fabric, because, you know, fabric is porous, so you want to make sure you're getting a nice good seal. And Mod Podge, if you're not used to working with Mod Podge, if you're new to this craft and you're not familiar with Mod Podge is a glue, kind of like Elmer's. It goes on white and it dries clear, and it gives a nice good water seal, where Elmer's glue is a water based and it doesn't give a water seal where Mod Podge does, but it has the consistency. Smells a little bit different than Elmer's glue. Some people hate the smell of it, other people like the smell of it, some people just doesn't bother them. I'm, you know, somewhere in between, like not crazy about the smell, but I don't hate it. It's just not my favorite, but whatever, I tolerate it. So, and you know, too, the undercoat dried in about an hour for me, but my craft space is really, really warm, and it is summertime here. And so just be mindful that dry times will vary depending on your environment. And that goes for Mod Podge, Tack It, Epoxy, or any, you know, any glue adhesive that you use. So, you know, just be mindful of that, you know, because people have different, you know, climates, different elevations, and it affects the way your products cure and dry. So, you know, if I say it dried in an hour, and you find it's been 2 hours and still feels a little tacky, you know, your environment is obviously different than mine. So just be mindful of that. It's, you know, it's not a flaw, you know, or anything you did wrong or anything I did wrong or whatever. It's just, you know, a difference in temperature. Temperature makes a big difference when you're dealing with glues and epoxies and things. So, all right. So I got a nice good coat on this. It's already starting to dry over here because, like I said, it's really warm in my craft space. And I'm going to do this 2 more times. And then I'm going to actually come back after this coat dries, and I'm going to trim this. So I will show you that. All right, so I'll be back in a bit. All right, guys, so this first coat of Mod Podge is dry, and I'm going to go ahead and trim off that excess. I am using a ruler as guidance. I used tape in another video, and I didn't like it, so I'm going with the ruler to give me better guidance. And so I'm just using a very sharp craft knife. I put a brand new blade in there. You want a brand new blade. You want it to be sharp because you do not want it to snag on the fabric. Now I have a nice straight seam to do my next 2 coats with. Okay, I got my 3 coats of Mod Podge on, and the last coat is still a little tacky, but that's okay because once I glitter this bottom, I'm going to let this cup dry overnight. So what I'm doing is I'm using painter's tape that I have put on my clothes because I don't want the painter's tape to have a strong adhesion to the cup, because the Mod Podge is still a little bit tacky, and so when I pull it up, I don't want it to pull the fabric or any Mod Podge up. So in order to make it less sticky, I put it on my clothes, and then it leaves just enough adhesion, just enough stick to it that it sticks to the cup and provides a line for my epoxy and my glitter, but it's not going to stick to the cup. So I'm applying this glitter. It's a chunky glitter, so I'm doing it with Mod Podge. You only need a very little bit. It's going to go on the top, and it's going to be in replace of any Mod Podge. The reason why I'm using epoxy over Mod Podge or over Tack It is because I feel that with the chunky glitter that the epoxy holds it better. So that's why I'm doing the epoxy method. And you just put a little on, you smear it around, and make sure that you've got good coverage, but that it's not dripping. You do not want it dripping. You want a very, very little bit. Because I'm going to hang dry this, and so you don't want your epoxy with your glitter dripping down the cup. So this way you put just a little bit, and so if you have a hard time with it, that's good. If it's too hard, add a little bit. If it's too much, take it off. Make sure there's no lines in it, that it's, you know, nice and smooth, and then go ahead and start your glitter process. And here is my glitter, which is called Pumpkin Spice. It's an orange hue color. I thought it looked really, really nice with this fabric. It's, of course, by Glitter Makes It. And this color also has a sister, a fine version of it, and the name of it escapes me at the moment, but it is probably under Perfect Pairs on the website. So I'm just making sure I get good coverage. I'm just doing a full glitter dump. I'm not hesitating. I'm not sprinkling. I'm just full glitter dumping. Once you do that, you want to pat all your glitter down. Make sure you have a gloved hand and pat all the glitter onto it so that it's not sticking up, because if it's sticking up, then when you put your epoxy on, it's going to be very lumpy and bumpy, and then you're going to have to do a lot of sanding, and and then you're going to have to epoxy, and it's like a whole thing. So do yourself a favor, pat it down, make sure it's nice and flat. Use a gloved hand. You can use wax paper or parchment paper as well if you want. Any way you want to do it is just fine. And now I'm going to let this cup dry overnight, and then I will start with my next step. All right, so this cup's been drying overnight. It's nice and dry. Oh, and I forgot to mention, as soon as I was done putting my glitter on, I took that piece of tape off because, I was doing the epoxy method and I didn't want it sticking to the cup. So now what I'm doing is applying polyacrylic. And so polyacrylic is going to seal that glitter in so that when I epoxy it, it's not going to travel up the cup, because I want to keep it where it's at. And I find that spray sealers sometimes leave a little loose ends, so the polyacrylic is going to get this nice and sealed up. This glitter is not going to move once this is dry. And this is going to dry in about an hour. Again, dry times vary depending on the temperature in your craft space, but for me it took about an hour. And then I was ready to move on to my epoxy. Okay, polyacrylic is dry and this cup is ready for epoxy. So I am using Stone Coat's Quick Coat, part A and B, equal parts are mixed. I have about 25 mLs that I am putting on this cup, and I think I used about 20 mLs. I don't think I used the full 25. Because it's not a full glitter cup. If it was full glitter, it would definitely need more, because the glitter takes more to get a good coat. And I will do 2 coats of this Stone Coat Quick Coat before I go in with my next step, which is to do a trim piece between the fabric and the glitter. Don't forget to torch your cup. I use the torch over the heat gun because the torch pops bubbles better than the heat gun. Alright guys, so my 2 coats of Stone Coat are cured enough for me to do the trimming on the top, or the cleaning of the top. So I'm using a sharp X-Acto knife and I am trimming any excess epoxy off the top of the cup. And make sure your craft knife is nice and sharp. If you have a stubborn spot of epoxy, you can heat up your craft knife and use that, and that will help release it too. So now I'm using pure acetone on a paper towel to clean the inside of the cup. If you remember, it was spray painted blue at the top, so that's why blue is coming out. And I am going to take my sandpaper. I'm using a 120 grit around the top edge because it is rough because of the fabric. So I'm going to just sand that out. I do not have a sanding block in this grit, so I'm just using the paper and I'm going around all the top edge. I'm sanding it on an angle, making sure it's nice and smooth, and exposing a teeny tiny hairline up at the top of the cup of the stainless steel so that we can get our epoxy seal on the cup. And I'm just going around and around and around, and I stop, I feel, I sand, I stop, I feel, I sand. So, you want to make sure that that top rim is nice and smooth in case somebody decides that you do want to drink directly from the cup and not through the lid or the straw. Why somebody would do that, I don't know. Maybe if a lid breaks or something, but they still want to use it as a cup. I personally don't drink from it, but again, you never know. Everybody does it differently. So now I have a finer grit sandpaper, which is like a 220, and I go in over top of the sand marks from the 120 grit, and I just smooth it out and make sure any of those sand lines are just smooth. So I go around the rest of the cup. I did pretty good with flattening this glitter out, so I didn't have a whole lot to sand. Making sure that the seams between the glitter and the fabric are nice and smooth, because that's where we're going to put down our vinyl stripe. And just going back and forth. Again, I'm using the 120 grit, and then I'm going to go in with the 220 grit to smooth that out. And then I'm going to just kind of rough up the rest of the cup too a little bit, because I want to make sure that my next coat of epoxy sticks. So that's where make sure you get your bottom, because you may, around that bottom, with the chunky glitter, if you didn't get it flat down all the way, you want to make sure that that's nice and smooth too. But that's not quite as important as the top rim. The bottom rim, it can be a little bumpy, and it's not going to be the end of the world, but you just want to make sure it's pretty smooth. So Now I'm going to go and wipe it down with my 91% alcohol. You can, and the reason why I'm doing 91% and not washing it with Dawn dish soap is because I really didn't have a whole lot of sand debris. So if you have a lot of sand debris, then you'll want to go in and stick that underwater and get the Dawn dish soap and get everything off really well. And then wipe it down with a coffee filter or a paper towel. But I'm going to wipe it down again after I'm done handling it with the vinyl. I am going to wipe it down with a coffee filter, because coffee filters don't have the fabric, they don't have the lint that comes off of paper towels. So what I did originally was I cut out a hunter green stripe, and then I put a gold stripe over top of that. And I layered them first, and then I put them on the cup, and I just lined them up and used, like kind of split the difference between the seam of the glitter and the fabric. But once I got that on and I looked at it, I don't think you can really see it as well as I can see it, like in person, but I just didn't, I don't know, there's something about it that just I didn't like. So I went through all this trouble of making sure everything was lined up, pulling down, resticking. And you can do that with the Oracle 651 vinyl. That's pretty forgiving. The stuff on top is not as forgiving to be pulling up and putting down. It's washi tape that I actually cut down to size. And so I did cut at 0.25 the green and then 0.15 of the gold. So if you do like the stripe, or you're doing a different color and you like that kind of stripe, those were the dimensions. And then the cup is like 9.5 around, or I cut it at 9.5 around, and then I just trim off the excess. So I do some fiddling around with this, and I'm actually just going to cut this off of here because I wind up taking it off and put down just washi tape. So I'm done with narrating this, and I'm going to cut the rest of this out, and then we're going to move on to the washi tape. All right, guys, so you know what? I decided I don't really like the way the green and the gold are on this cup. So I thought that, this is more of a hunter green, but it changed a little bit under epoxy. So you know what? I'm going to change this to just gold. I'm just going to do gold washi tape, and I like this one because it looks kind of like leaves. So let's see if I can satisfy my fussiness with this. And I just rolled my cup and pulled the washi tape taut and got it around the cup and trimmed it with my craft knife, and loved it so much more than the other one. But look, it's a matter of opinion, so you do what you like. If you like the stripe, the double stripes, then you do that. But I just like this now the way it is. Alright guys, this tumbler is done. Look at her, she's so pretty. I don't know, I really love this fabric. I'm so glad I have more of it. I am definitely going to be doing another cup. I don't know, there's something about these colors and the butterfly. It's very fallish, which is okay because, we're heading, in crafting season. We are in fall in October and November, so this is perfect. Look at this gorgeous glitter. It is so super pretty. Love the color was just like perfect for this. So I really didn't have any major challenges with this other than the washi tape was a little bit hard to cover, and you know what I should have done, and so take it, learn from my mistakes. I should have spray painted this and with clear gloss or a matte gloss. And the reason why I say spray paint over something like polyacrylic, or I think a lot of you use the Counterculture Fast Set, I think is the other one, because the liquid will wash the color out of the washi tape. And I did have a little bit of color. I hit it with alcohol by accident, so I did have a little tiny spot here. But other than that, I would say just make sure you seal your washi tape before you put your epoxy on. Other than that, all went perfectly. So guys, thank you for watching. If you like this, please give me a thumbs up. Please comment. I love to hear your feedback. Make sure you subscribe. Subscribing helps me tremendously, so that I can keep making these videos for you. Make sure you check the description down below. That's where I link the products that I use. I have some affiliate codes and some discount codes down there, especially for the glitter. I always have a discount code for my glitter, 30% off your entire order. So make sure you check them out. Glitter Makes It. They are awesome. And I will see everybody next time. Bye. Alright guys, so I gave her the cup. I didn't leave it on our porch because she had people coming in and out of there and I didn't want anybody to take it. So I gave it to her and she absolutely loved it. She let me take a picture and she was so happy and I'm so happy. So what a wonderful feeling this is.